another, this one here really do it for you.
Baby, the love is yours. Yeah, baby, I'm in love is yours. If it come down to love is yours. Let me show you how true love is yours. Love, 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 love is yours. Love, love is yours. Love is yours. Love is yours. Love, love is yours.
Now it's my turn to tell y'all about my big bro Gerard and the podcast crew.
What's up, good people? Welcome once again to the Floor Is Yours podcast. We're super excited to be in your presence once again. We hope that you're just as excited to see us. And so, it's our mission every week to bring you informative and substantial conversations. And tonight is no different. Me and my main man, Gerard, we're going to bring the heat. Gerard, say what's up to the people.
Hello, my fans, my great people. How's everybody? How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Thanks for asking. Life be lifing, but I got to fight back a little bit. I'm good. Yeah, count it all joy. Tonight, I know we're going to talk about something near and dear to our heart. But before we get into that, we want to encourage everyone to like, share, and subscribe. Tell everyone that the Floor Is Yours podcast is on and in effect. We are excited about tonight's topic. Gerard, one of the best things that have ever happened to me in life is becoming a father. So I have 2 daughters, and I also have 3 mentees, and I don't want to leave my mentees out because they look at me as sort of a fatherly figure as well, which is another aspect of fatherhood. That fatherhood goes just beyond biological relationships. And so I am just as happy and proud of the 2 daughters that I have as I am about the 3 mentees that I have. And so tonight we're going to talk about the ups, the downs, the challenges, the good, the bad, and the ugly of being a father. And I know you pride yourself on being a very active and engaged father too, right?
Yeah, no question about it. And some like you too, when you said your mentees, I have daughters, if you will, and a son from a previous relationship, not biological, but it's one of those things like once you're in my life, you're in my life, even though me and the mother don't make it. So, I got a total of 12, Gregory. You talked about your own 2. Yeah. And 3 others or 2 others. Yeah, I got a total of 12. And I count my nieces and nephews in that right there too. So, I've been an active part of their lives since they was, little. And then there's some cousins that same, man, they look at me as this, even if it's not necessarily a father figure, but that stable male, presence in their life. So you're right, it does go beyond just your own biological kids. You're influential in other people's lives, whether you like to think so or not. So it's something that we both take serious, and we want to make sure that this is part of the discussion today too. So
yeah, absolutely. The relationship of a father or even a positive male role model has in the life of a young person, it not just changes their life, but it does affect how they father their family, how they lead their own family. And then generations are affected just by how you show up. I mean, if we think about it, what we do now is going to echo 100 years from now, 200 years from now, based on what we say and how we move and how we act and what we keep as a priority, which is very important. One quote that I heard recently that really stuck with me is, what you consider optional, your children will think is unnecessary.
That's real. I like that.
So when it comes to health and fitness, when it comes to your mental well-being, when it comes to finances, whatever it may be, whatever you consider optional, your children will consider unnecessary. And so we got to make sure that we are prioritizing the right things, and not just in our own lives, but they see us prioritizing the right things. I was listening to a pastor. He was talking years ago, and he was saying that one of his daily chores or habits, one of his daily habits was reading the word. And it wasn't until his children were in high school that they brought to his attention that they never saw him reading the Bible, because he did it in private. He did it in the morning before the kids got up. And so it wasn't until they were like 14 or 15 that they actually saw their father reading the Bible outside of church. And so that tells me is that we need to show our children by example what's important to us.
Yeah.
Make room for it. Let them see us balancing the checkbook. Well, I don't want people still have checkbooks nowadays, but being responsible with money, our health and fitness, or whatever it may be.
How
Kids got
about
to
this
see it,
important one? How to treat other people, how you interact with other people. I think
right?
that's a lesson too. Just want to make sure we throw that one in there because we're in this era where we want to make sure we respect individuality, right? People being themselves, but that's up to, I believe, with some societal norms. And the reason why I bring it up, I was at a restaurant the other day, and I walked in, and it was a young guy in there, man, and I walked in, Gregory, and this is how he did me.
So just mean mug you, huh?
It wasn't even a mean mug, man. It was just like, and I'm like, hey, how are you? Hey. And I'm just like, wow, man. And where do you learn these things? I know, we place the responsibility on the employer, but I think it starts at home too,
Yeah.
right? Just
Yeah.
how to, and I think when they see you, I got a good friend in the military, man, and I tell her, like, you friendly. You are one friendly. She said, Gerard, it costs nothing to speak to somebody. And so when you're
Right.
talking about those things that you make optional, that they make it, what it's not a necessity. I think that's one of those things that we're seeing a lot of these days, just basic greeting people when they're in your presence.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because when I meet a young man, I can instantly tell if he has a father at home. It's by
What is
how the handshake that he gives, his posture. Does he look you in the eye? Does he speak with confidence, assurance? I can instantly tell within like the first 15 seconds if he has a father at home because his whole exude, his demeanor speaks to he's been what's the word? He's been groomed well to
Yeah,
become a man.
yeah, I like that. I like that. That's true. And I was wondering where you was going with that, but I absolutely agree with you. Those little things that they pick up, kids are so impressionable, and it's not just what you tell them, it's what they see, as well. So how you treat people, how you greet people, how you just interact with people, they pick up on all those things. So that's a good point.
hmm Absolutely. So I think for the sake of this conversation, we should probably start off with defining what is a father. How are we defining fatherhood? I know we spoke about our extended children that we have that are not biologically ours, but we do take some investment in. And so, for the sake of this conversation, I like to think that a father is a man who assumes emotional leadership for and some financial leadership responsibility for. That's a father, whether
Yeah.
or not it's by blood or whether or not it's a deacon in the church or a basketball coach or your history teacher. But if you have a man in your life who is taking an emotional investment and occasionally, as much as he can, takes financial provision as a responsibility ability of his for you, that's a father. That's
Yeah.
a father. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that you went beyond the financial part. That is an important piece of it. I know in this society, it's such an important part of just your day-to-day well-being, right? Quality of life. But there are other things other than financial, right? And I was reading this article and they talked about this includes being a provider of love, kindness, and other types of support as well as the financial stability. And here's one that and maybe we can get into it now or later. I hear a lot of people in broken relationships or relationships that ended. They say that he was a great father, but he was not a great spouse, right?
Right.
Or a great mate. And I always not always, as I got more mature and older, I took issue with that because I believe, and this is just me, I think part of being a father is also showing them how to treat the mother of that child. How that mother child should be treated. Let me expound on that a little bit, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That child, if he loves his father, or her father, they also loves the mother. They love the mother as well.
True.
And I think not that it can, it will just cause conflict, confusion, and just other anxiety if they see that the mother and father don't get along, especially if it's geared towards misbehaviors from the father. Not saying that you don't have reason to, You know, I'm not saying that the mother is over there singing choir songs and just being easy to get
Right.
along person, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about taking responsibility as that man and saying, like, you know what, I'm gonna own this relationship. And if that means putting distance in, you know what, that could be an indifferent piece where I'm not interacting with you, but that child should never see me abusing and mistreating your mother. So if what she says in those statements is true, that he's a good father but a terrible mate, meaning he was abusive and unfaithful, neglectful, you know, mean, I think that you need to throw that in there and say, like, hey, she or he is watching how you treat a mother, and that needs to be part of the equation.
Yeah, yeah, that's a complicated one for me because I personally think you can be a great father and a terrible husband at the same time. I know that
A
many
terrible
men.
husband. What's a
Uh-huh,
terrible husband, man? I mean, let's
yeah,
qualify that. What is that? What does that look like in your eyes? A terrible husband.
yeah, someone who's not loving his wife the way Christ loved the church. So he's not emotionally invested in her. He doesn't support her dreams. He's not lifting her up. He's not kind. He's not considerate. That's a terrible husband, right?
So think about the statement that you led with initially, that if we make something optional, the kids can make that. What did you say? They can take that as
Unnecessary.
unnecessary, right?
Hmm.
And I'm thinking if they're learning these behaviors because they're watching us, I don't think that we can neglect that portion of it. Now, again, I'm not saying you got to have the best, you know, relationship, it ended, whatever. But I'm saying that if you're abusing, mistreating, or not being kind and polite to that child's mother, I think that I got issue with that, and it's something that needs to be called out.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
important to the child more than, I mean, sometimes it's more important than the financial support. That's who that child is with on, you know, on a regular basis, probably, right? And if
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
saying that you're abusing her mother, so let's talk about that part. Again, I'm not saying, like, you know what, you're not my responsibility anymore. I'm not talking about that. But I'm just
Hmm.
saying, if you are terrible as a
Hmm.
spouse, like, man, I just don't see how we can bypass that.
Yeah, yeah. They say that the best thing you can do for your children is to love their mother. I think is good wisdom.
Yeah.
But I do know there are many men who are not cut out to be husbands. They are not, but they do love their children,
Well,
and they
listen,
have bad character. So
yeah,
they have bad character towards women. Yeah, but they
yeah,
show up for their children,
yeah.
and that is I don't necessarily think that disqualifies them to being, a good or bad dad because they're missing the mark on this one area, but
So,
there is definitely a gap that
yeah.
needs to be
So it is,
addressed.
if they're teaching their child to be mean to the waiter and the neighbor and don't have honor and respect for teachers and whatnot, what is that? Is that okay?
No, that's not. But we're talking specifically about the mother. And
Yes.
so what we're examining here is the context of that marriage or that relationship. We don't, and so we're often with this discussion, we're taking the pretense that maybe the man is at fault. We don't know what toxic behavior that the mother is bringing. We don't know what
Yes.
angst she is creating or hostility that she is creating. And
Yeah.
so if the mother has presented herself as a challenge or a hurdle or a roadblock from his for his
Yeah.
progression in life, then I think that he would probably have some choice words for her.
I
And
agree
but
with
to
that.
do that in front of your children is also a deficit. You shouldn't, talk down about a child's mother. But I think that even in that, the child can now learn. Okay, I don't want this as my relationship. So it's still also an opportunity for learning.
Yeah, and I think the difference in what you just presented, you said the mother is being difficult. I'm talking
Hmm.
about me is the responsibility of how I interact or, you know, keep the distance. If I'm being ugly to anyone, and that's why I brought in those other, you know,
Yeah.
people, whether it's the teacher, the neighbor, whatnot. If they're watching me and learning my behaviors, and my behavior shows mean spiritedness, ugliness, angriness, you know, uncontrolled anger, and I'm not talking about, you know, just there's a righteous anger, right? I'm not talking
Hmm.
about that. But if
Hmm.
I am being ugly towards that child's mother, I
Hmm.
think I have issue with that because it is showing when you understand, like, where this kid get this bad behavior from, you know, how he's treating or how she's treating her mom. You know, I've heard stories and actually have witnessed it before. He learned that from how his father treated his mother, how his father interacted with his mother. So in that instance, I'm just saying, not, you know, this indifferent, you know, love you from afar type of, but if I am ugly towards him, I am teaching, I mean, towards the mother, I'm teaching that child bad behaviors by proxy. I don't want to belabor it. And Ivory, you know, usually me and Ivory, we dead on it and what we agree. Ivory don't agree with me on this. She said it's a big difference. She called my whole name, Gerard Ware.
The whole government.
Different than being a great partner. And I don't disagree with that. And I'm talking about some of the nuances of how these relationships can go array, if you will, and some things that we need to consider as we separate and try to become a better father.
But how real can we keep it with our kids, though? You know, even with that, let's say he's a good guy, but his only adversary in life is the mother, and he shows up well at church, in the community, at his job, but he just can't stand his baby mama.
But do he have to? Does he have to?
And so does he always have to pretend in front of his kids that his
I'm
mother
not talking
is an
about
angel?
pretending. I'm just talking about not being ugly.
Okay.
I'm not saying pretending.
Okay.
You know, and I'm responsible for my behaviors. Now let's talk about what would Jesus do? I just can't see Jesus being like, you know what, you ugly to me, get your big biscuit head. That, you know, he ain't doing it, bro. It's a high mark, right? It is a high mark. And I'm not saying that it's something that we're going to perfectly do, but I do believe, you know, even though Ivory don't agree.
Well, I do agree that the quality of a good father is to be respectful and to teach your children how to be respectful, even in the presence of people who are not respectable. So I do agree with you there.
That was good, man. That's all I'm saying, man. You put it so that was good. Ivory also said being present for their child and not being present to his spouse. Yeah. And that's kind of, it can be that, right? I don't have to be present. If it's a spouse, I need to be there. And if not, I need to figure out where that issue is right there. But again, I'm saying that kids are watching and they're learning how to be in this society, right? And I think sometimes we got to sacrifice for the greater good. And I'm not saying like we're at odds. I need to, you know, act like we're the Cosbys. I'm not saying that all. We got some stuff to work through, but I think that's part of it as well. Like trying to put this child in a positive environment. If that means we need to separate because we can't get along, I'd rather do that than let my child see me abusing their mom.
Yeah, we don't agree, and we're not supporting any extreme behavior. So we're not supporting abuse in any way. But if there's I don't know, we just don't get along, and there's a eye roll or something like that, then that stuff happens.
I'm with you,
right?
I'm with you. Yeah, Love Jones checking in. Appreciate our followers for always spending time with us. Love Jones, you know, she was on a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, with the how to what was the name of the show? Maintain your femininity while you're going through breast cancer treatment.
Oh yes, I remember that. That was a great show.
And today's her birthday. So happy birthday to Lil Jones, man. Yeah. Hope you're having a great day.
Feliz cumpleaños.
Corey Sanders, he's checking in, and Miss Coley Brown, Nicole Brown, say hello to you both. And you know, it's never a good show if Mia Nicole, she's saying hello too. So
what's up, Mia?
Yeah. So we got some more comments, and we're gonna get to them. So y'all keep them coming. We got a few of them down. We're gonna make sure we address. I want to let you jump back into the discussion.
You know, one of the things that's troubling to me as I see as we watch television and we listen to music and we see movies and of course social media, that we prioritize a man's financial responsibility as being the pinnacle of what fatherhood is. That if a man is not showing up financially, then he's a deadbeat dad. And that just removes him from offering any goodness or any kindness or any type of substantial significance to his children's lives. And so I think that it's important for us to debunk that myth that the greatest contribution that a man can make in the life of his children is finances, because it is not. The greatest contribution that he can offer his children is love and leadership. Those are the two biggest things that a man can offer. Now, I don't want to diminish the importance of finances. I think a man should be responsible for his children and contribute where he can. But to deny, which we have seen, deny a man access to his children just because he's not able to provide financially, I think is criminal. It shouldn't be allowed. But we do see it time and time again where dads who are not able to, you know, pay consistently with child support are either cut out of the kids' lives or put down because he could be in a rough patch. Now, there's some guys who probably avoid it, but for the guys who just can't do it, they should still be allowed to see their kids. What do you think? Think they should still be allowed to see their kids if they can't support financially?
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate that our value is placed on that, right? But
Hmm.
a couple things I think about on social media. There's one that's real funny. When this
Yeah,
discussion comes up, I saw this one post that said, "If you broke, just say that." In other words, quit making all these excuses,
yeah,
but
yeah,
not. But that's the ugliness that we're faced, right? Where our value is mainly put on, the dollar, our
right.
ability to provide or do in the financial sense. Which again, money ain't everything, but it dang sure pay the rent. You're right. It is absolutely important. But, to deny access to that child because of financial reasons, of course, man, there's so many nuances. Is it by choice, bad choices, because let's be honest, women look at the need for financial security totally different sometimes than
Yeah.
us, right? And I
Hmm.
have to learn that as I mature. So while I might not agree with it, I also don't want to thumb my nose at it and be like, hey, you're wrong and you need to let him in there and that be the end of the discussion kind of thing.
Right,
There's some
right.
things, emotional fear, because there's this thing called financial abuse, right?
Hmm.
That men do use finances as a way to manipulate and control women too. So again, there's not this one size fit all issue with that, but I mean, at the core, to your point, it is more than finances that's needed to be there to
Absolutely.
support that
Yeah,
child.
yeah. There are many dads who are just paycheck dads, that meaning that the only contribution they make in their child's life is financial. So there are a lot of men out there who are stepping up and are paying what they need to pay to support their child's well-being. I was impressed. I know a gentleman who children live with the mom primarily, and and even after the children graduated high school and were 18 and older, they were still, of course, living with mom for a few years. He kept paying what he was required to pay in child support legally, even though he wasn't required at that time to pay it. He just kept it going for as long as the children were living in the home. He said, "Those are my kids. My ex is now taking care of them, so I'm going to support my children by sending this cash every month because I know they need it." However, that was the only contribution that he had in their lives. Like he traveled a lot for work, so he was hard to reach. He didn't show up for birthday parties. He wasn't there for holidays. But if they lost their cell phone, he'll send them a quick $1,000 to get a new cell phone. He was, good whenever there was a gap financially of filling in that gap. And I think that is equally deficient as the
Yeah,
opposite end of that spectrum, where a man is not able to provide financially, but is able to provide in every zone. So what
yeah,
we're looking for, some type of balance here, some type of compromise, I think.
yeah. You're right. You're right. And man, there's some great comments in there. I want to jump to a few of them while we're on this topic right here. First, we got
Yeah.
another follow just joined in. Dorkeesa, appreciate you. Sometimes she shows up a little late, not putting her on the spot, but hey, appreciate you for jumping in on this one. But I like this comment right here. I'll let you read this
Okay.
one from Tanisha, and,
You're gonna
um,
make
and
me
then
put
let
on
you
my
respond.
glasses. I get a
Yeah,
little
put the
gray hair
promise
now.
on.
There we
Make
go.
sure
They should be allowed to see them, but the problem is normally they are taking care of others' children's that's theirs.
yeah,
Uh, as life happens that way. One relationship ends, another begins, and so a man now finds himself with divided priorities. He has now a new life, and that new life often, means additional children, and so he has to take care of two households, and that could be a stretch, and so that's hard too as well. As you're trying to start a new chapter, you're still responsible for the previous chapter as well.
yeah,
But no, I agree. Thank you for agreeing that a man, just because he's not able to provide financially, should not be denied access to his children.
yeah. Now I do want to just add some more color and context to that. I think
Mhm.
when you look at how some of those situations are formulated and how they play out, it is usually not just a guy that's again just paying money. There's some other toxic behaviors out of other times in there. So I've seen where he shows up and pay money, but he's supposed to take the child and didn't.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll get you next time. You know,
Mhm.
so what does that do to a child when they're looking for that father to show up and spend
Right.
time with him, but he's throwing that money? And so I've seen where the mom's like, hey, she's left to deal with that hurt,
Right.
that pain,
Yep.
and that,
Yep.
that anger and that
Mhm.
disappointment that that child is dealing with. So while it's an all around bad situation, I do understand. I'm not saying the right or wrong, you know, what's the best way to address that. But I have seen where it's like, hey, no, you're not getting it because you think all you need to do is throw money. Here you are supposed to been picking your child up and you didn't. And I'm left to deal with the fallout from that. So that's
Mhm.
difficult. And I would like the
Yeah.
ladies to chime in on that. How do they feel about those situations? If he, you know, misses 2 or 3 pickup times, now the child is disappointed. You know, how do they feel that they would address, or if they've had to deal with those type of situations? I would like some audience input on that. And while
You
we go
know,
through, go ahead.
what is unique is that I have seen, and I think this is toxic as well, is that as long as the man is paying money every month, a lot of mothers have less interest in the well-being of the child. Like as long as you're giving the money, I can take care of the kid. That in of itself, I think, is very destructive because a child needs both parents. If both parents are reasonably sane and healthy and care about the children, as much as possible, we want to try to support relationships with both the father and the mother. But there have been cases where moms are like, okay, you don't ever have to come by. You don't ever have to see the kid. I'll take care of it
Yeah,
as long as you give me the check, which I think is also dysfunctional and
yeah,
sad too.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And it's an unfortunate part of it. You want to be able to handle it just between you two, but in those instances, I encourage you, and it's unfortunate, but sometimes you gotta get the authorities and the courts involved so you can
Yeah,
get legalized, you know, structured visitation, you know. But
yeah.
yeah, I again, Ivory made a comment up here earlier, and we're gonna get there, but she said, where is it being present, not being? Is this the one right here? Oh yeah, she said, I absolutely agree. I definitely would have time, but to play devil's advocate is more pressure on the mom to work multiple jobs to pick up the slack. And it's
Yeah.
not just the job. Sometimes it's the emotional support too that she's there every day. I remember as I'm me and my daughter's mom separated, you know, broke up, and you know I stuck my chest out because I picked up my daughter every other weekend. Friday and Sunday morning, I was taking her back. But you know, she told me, she was like, you know what, every day I get off work, I have to go straight home to make sure she's good, you know, eating, that she made it home safely, first of all, that she's eating, that she's doing her homework, dealing with whatever went on in school, whatever pain that, like, she's in the immediate vicinity dealing with that, right? And so there is the pressure, you know, that Aubrey is talking about, other than financially, that she had the mother, if the mother is the custodial, is having to deal with day in and day out. So there is that element as well.
Yeah, one parent managing the life of a child is extremely difficult, and we don't want to pretend there aren't single dads out there who have primary custody of kids. Also, so there are some men out there who are
Yeah,
raising their children without the assistance of the mom, and so it's really hard for one parent to raise a child by him or herself.
yeah.
Very,
Hey,
yeah.
won't you take this one right here from Miss Cody Brown, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I feel like society has long taught that a man's value is measured by what he can provide financially. And in the process, we forget how important emotional safety is for both men and women. Men are more than what they can buy: presence, care, and vulnerability.
Matters just as much.
It didn't come
Yeah,
matters as much. You're absolutely right. I think every man should know that his value is not based on his worth, but it's based on who he is, that he brings. And it's been shown time and time again that when a child is raised in a home with their father, they have more confidence about themselves. They have more self assurance, and they are emotionally more well balanced if they have both parents. A father brings a sense of courage and adventure to the home. Moms are nurturers and protectors. Like they like to keep things safe by nature. There's the father that says, "Go out and a little bit deeper in the pools, and go out, keep testing yourself. Why don't you try that skateboard? See if you can go faster on your bike. Go ahead and
yeah,
shoot that shot. And so fathers bring a sense of adventure. They allow the child permission to test their boundaries and see what they're really made of. Mothers, who we appreciate, try to keep the child safe and secure. And so there's a lot of value that dads bring, and also just a different perspective. Dads will also bring a perspective that mom maybe haven't considered or thought of. And so it's important for a child to see both sides of the coin.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm gonna read this one I heard from hometown Corey Sanders. He said, "I'm trying to navigate through life with my ex, but we can't seem to get on the same page. She has done some things that has pushed me to the point of just staying away from her. But I feel like my children are taking side at this point. He's trying to fix it. So we'll let you respond on that. He's saying that feel like the children are beginning to take her side, and he's just trying to.
Yeah, Corey, that's a very difficult position to be. I will say, though, that the best course of action you can take is to walk with integrity. As the children get older, they will eventually see who was the toxic parent. And how they will determine who's a toxic parent is how you behave day to day now. And so if you show up consistently as a man of integrity, as a father who loves them, and you are consistently by their side, supporting them and encouraging them, no matter what their mother is telling them, when they reach an age of maturity and understanding, they're going to look back on you and say, Dad wasn't bad at all. Dad was really showing me what a man is supposed to be. That despite the things that mom said about him, he was constantly showing up in a positive way to me. And so, Corey, what I want to tell you right now is, as difficult as it is today, keep showing up as a man of integrity, no matter how hard it is, no matter how many times your kids roll their eyes at you or they don't understand the present conditions. Just know one day they're going to get older and they're going to replay their childhood, and they're going to see that you walk like a king. So,
hey, so let me get you, if you don't mind, to talk about that piece about being consistent in the light of the those challenges, right? It's easy for us to say it on here, but how do you get that strength to be consistent, right?
Yeah. First, you need a support group. So you need to surround yourself with other men who can understand, generally other divorced men who have been through similar situations. That's good to know, because you'll know that you're not alone. You're not the only man that's experienced this. And also, men will be able to give you advice. There's a lot of that out there. There's a lot of networks that you can join to kind of get that support of like a release. Number one, get it off your chest, and then healthy exercises. Another thing you can do, which is a great thing, is that you can write a journal to your children. It doesn't have to be every day, but you can write down your thoughts of, like, this is, in your sixth grade year. As I look back over it, your life as a sixth grade year, there were some challenges we had, but I want you to know that I loved you and I was here for you. Memorialize the moments. And so when your kids have that to look back on, either through video or through the written word, they'll be able to go, oh, this was what you were thinking at that time. This is where your head was, and this is what you were trying to do at that time. So they're not confused thinking, oh, you didn't care when I was in the sixth grade and mom had to take me to all my extracurriculars. They're like, no, I was working 3 jobs to pay for those extracurriculars.
Yeah,
that's what I was doing. Yeah. So document what you're going through, and then give it to them as a gift when they turn 18 or 21.
Yeah, that's good. And another thing too, and you alluded to this earlier, just understanding that it looks different, what we all provide and how we provide it. So we also got to be careful about discounting on one end what the other person is doing, but also defining what the other person is doing, from our own perspective. There's a lot of nuances in there, and just being kind, polite, and knowing, like, hey, especially in a broken relationship, when you got something that's out of order, let's just be honest and direct and call it what it is, you're going to have to find workarounds and different ways and be more creative and more patient when you're dealing with not just the mother, but the child and their misunderstandings. And, and I get it, when they're there with the person day in and day out, it can be frustrating to them, and they taking sides is easy, not saying it's right or whatever, but you're going to have a level of grace that, that we probably never thought you were going to have to show in those situations. Right. And a lot of times, a lot about yourself more than you are about that whole situation anyway.
Right? Yeah. And to your earlier point, you don't want to disparage the mother. You don't want to talk down about the mom because that's only going to give the kids fuel to believe what mom is saying.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Hey, let's get one more comment, and then we're gonna go to a commercial break, if you will. Hey, I'm sorry, I was just joking with the Kisa earlier. She said she don't get the notifications, but hey, hopefully you can figure out how to turn those notifications on so you don't miss us. But Kiki, Brian Jackson, my good Army buddy, he said examples of the past leads to a natural occurrence. If mama didn't give a dang about daddy, why would she or her kid's father? Love must be created, not said. I love that right there. Love must be created, not just said. Some ladies just don't know how to treat a good man or a father.
Yeah. Well, I think regardless of how we're treated as men, this is just part of being a man. This just comes with the job.
Yeah.
That despite how we are treated, we still got to show up for work every day.
Yeah.
Despite the jabs, we got to duck and dodge, and sometimes we take hits and blows. But the job of a man is to show up every day, despite how you feel. And it doesn't mean sometimes you will have to take a knee. You're going to have to go to a therapist. You're going to have to go to a coach. You're going to have to go to a pastor, sure. But you don't let that drive you. You don't let that lead your behavior. I'm being disrespected. No one appreciates me. Well, that's the job. That's the job. When you signed up to be a father, whether intentionally or unintentionally, you accepted the job. And that job means no thank yous. It means no pats on the backs or far and few. And that means you got to show up every day, regardless. That's just the part of being a man. I hate that a lot of good men are not appreciated. That really saddens me because I think society as a whole needs to appreciate men more so that men will have a desire to show up like men should show up. But unfortunately, that's the name of the game. We don't always get the applause that we deserve, but we keep doing the job.
Yeah, this is good, man. And we're going to go to a commercial break, but I want to leave you with this, Greg, so you can be prepared to talk about it on the other side of the commercial. How can women or society as a whole be more intentional about showing appreciation to fathers? It's one of those things. Sometimes we think it's a giving, right? It's a giving. You should know how. If you can give us some guidance, some advice on how to show appreciation to fathers after this commercial break. All right.
Every man battles something, but not every man has a space to heal. Texarkana, September 27, 2025, at Radiant Church. It's time to create the life you want. Join Jamar Bruce and Gerard Ware for a powerful, purpose-driven experience focused on breaking the stigma behind men's mental health. This life-changing event features a dynamic panel of real conversations, live performances and entertainment, epic giveaways, and special guest appearances. Featuring Sunday Best Season 6 runner-up, Kafia Rollerson, keynote speaker, Gregory McKinney, hosted by nationally renowned comedian Derek Keener. This is more than an event, it's a movement, a place for healing, strength, and community. Don't miss your chance to be a part of something great. Together, let's create the life we want. Secure your spot today at www.lifeiwantevent.com.
I ain't ashamed. Jesus took my guilt and he broke every chain. Mental health is wealth and I'm choosing to heal.
Lifeiwantevent.com. I'm super excited about that event right there. You want to tell us a little bit about it before we jump back into the discussion?
Yeah, man. You talk about excited about it. So am I. Like, I'm literally busting at the seams of this because I know this is going to be such a great event. The Life I Want event is just going to be off the chain. We're talking panelists, we're talking entertainment, but most of all, what we're talking about is an opportunity for men to get raw and real about the struggles they have. And it is not just for men. So if you know a man or you love a man, we want to invite you to come out. All the ladies are welcome as well. But here is what we're looking to at this event. We're looking to accomplish giving men the tools, the resources, and know-how just to be the men that God's created them to be who they're supposed to be in their families, in their communities, in their businesses, because there's a lot of hidden struggles that men have. There's a lot of men that cry in the dark, that cry in the car before they go inside the house. And we want to help those men, give them the things that they need so that they can show up strong with the chest out, and ready to perform and ready to do the work. I'm the keynote speaker, and so I am charged with giving specific examples of daily habits and routines that men can have so that they can be everything that God's called them to be, to change their mind so that they can keep their eye on the prize and not their pain. So we're going to take our eyes off the pain and we're going to focus on the prize, and it's there where we'll find prosperity. And so I'm super excited.
Yeah, lifeiwantevent.com. The website is right there at the bottom of the screen. Go out and get your tickets. They're out there. Life-changing event right there in Texarkana. We got some our own JT Bruce, very passionate about male mental health. And like you said, we just want to mobilize the communities, not only for men. What we don't want men to do is to go get this great training and go back to the same environment, right? So we want to also empower and educate their environments as well so that they can be supporters. We always talk about what the men ain't doing, but what are we doing to help spur them to greatness? And this event is one way to help. Ladies, get your men there. Go and get your men there. I'm telling you, if you're wanting to see a great change, great resources, great opportunity for you, man, this is one of the events, especially with my boy Gregory doing the keynote. So please, lifeiwantevent.com. So thank y'all. But I want to get back to the question we talked about, how to give support to men, but we did have a couple other people that dropped in and saying their hellos. So my boy Gandrick from Texarkana, lifelong friend. I see she's supposed to be on this screen, but
you know, Alicia,
she supporting us out there as well. Dr. Jennings, you know, she's always a pleasant sight to see. Appreciate her.
Hey, Doc, good to see you.
Got to get you back on here as well.
Yeah,
also, Dr. Dane, we got to get him on too, but he's saying facts, and appreciate you for tuning in. But again, before the commercial, I asked you to give us some practical ways that we can show appreciation to men, you know, in meaningful ways. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think that the doorway to our children's heart, that a mother is the doorway to the children's heart. And so the first thing that we can do is that if the wife or the mother in the home, number one, practice respect toward the dad. And so what we do as the entire household is that we make respect a normal thing in the house. And so what that means is we're not going to degrade women and we're not going to degrade men. And so we have a household now where respect is the norm. What happens there is that disrespect is now something that's not permissible. And so we don't think how important it is to honor someone for what they're bringing to the table. So number one, let's normalize respect in the home. And I think that the biggest champion of learning how to value men is the child's mother. If the children see the mom honoring the father, the children are going to follow suit from what the mother's example is. And so that's a big deal. I think, and then secondly, we have to get back to, I hate to be churchy, but I'm going to be churchy for a moment. We have to get back to what the biblical principles are of what a man is, and making sure that our children understand and our community understands that here is a man's role. And if he's operating in God's purpose, then that deserves honor and respect as well. There are a lot of men who are not, but the men that are, we want to honor and respect them. And I think by doing that, it will influence other men to want to come along and do the same thing. Number three, be intentional about celebrating men as intentional we are about celebrating women. Mother's Day is still to this day the biggest day in the flower industry and the greeting card industry. There's no other holiday that's bigger than Mother's Day when it comes to flowers and greeting cards. The Father's Day is the least popular holiday when it comes to the floral industry and the greeting card industry. And so that's a huge gap, you know, from the biggest, and they're only a month apart from each other. And so
they spent all their money on Mother's Day. So yeah,
right. And so if we can prioritize making sure that we know that although we have different roles, we are equally important. And that has to be stressed. And then again, I think that we should encourage men to take the position of leadership. That is sometimes difficult when you have a spouse or a partner who is an equally great leader. And I had a lot of conversations with married men and said, "What do I do? My wife is a better leader than me. How am I to lead her?" Well, you still lead. You fumble your way to success. And so, if we allow men to take what should be their role as a leader, and then he could hopefully properly delegate the responsibilities of the home. I think that we will see men rise to the occasion, and that will be a way to appreciate men also.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Like a couple comments in from Dr. Jenny. She said, "Get back to the basics with honoring men in the home."
Hmm.
She also said, reflecting what you said, normalize mutual respect.
Yeah.
Show equal importance of men and women. And Dr. Dane, I appreciate this comment. He said, add communication to that foundation. And I love when this discussion comes up because we say all the time anybody could communicate, right? But how do you effectively communicate, right? And there's a lot of sacrifice in there. There's a lot of grace. There's a lot of giving, more than just saying like, hey, you need to hear what I got to say, But it's two-way talking. There's body language, right? There's so many other dynamics in there about communication. But he's absolutely right. You got to add that to communication to it.
I would also add, make sure he gets the big piece of chicken.
Man, listen, quit playing.
That's
Quit playing.
pretty important as well.
We're gonna talk
Pretty
on the
important.
next show about who plate you're supposed to fix first too. But hey, yeah, nah. Hey, Mill said, do men want to be given flowers on Father's Day? That's a pretty common discussion as well. I know you talked about
What is the male equivalent to to flowers? What is
watch.
the male
Give me a watch. That's the
the
same as
watch?
yeah. Give me a watch.
Is it? I was gonna say cologne was the male
Cologne.
equivalent to flowers.
Yeah. So yeah, we got a lot of comments on here. We're going to get to them, but I know you got a couple more great points you want to hit before we wrap up the show. So y'all keep the comments coming, and we promise you we're going to get to every one of them before we wrap this thing up.
Well, one other thing about fatherhood that I think is increasingly important is that we have to be aware that fatherhood is systematically being attacked. And we talked just previously about the financial responsibility of men, which we know is an important aspect. But there are many incentives out there that the government and society has put in place that diminishes the need or even desire of a man in the household. So years ago, when welfare was actually being created, a lot of the subsidies that we get, um, they were designed to give single women more benefits than a married woman. So, for instance, just using easy numbers, not an exact amount, if a family were to apply for food stamps, they would be offered $500 a month. However, if a single mother was to apply for food stamps, she would be given $1,000 a month. So if the relationship was under the stress of the financial burden, it is going to crumble when they see an opportunity to get more money. So there are incentives with a lot of government agencies that will push a man out of the home, and that goes to government housing as well. It's a little bit more of a straighter line to get government housing, and then as a society now we have a "I don't need a man" mentality. There is a lot of push for independent women, which I think is great for women to have their own. I'm not speaking about that. I think every woman should have the same equal rights to education and employment and pay as men do. But I think that we have lost in the ideal of we need each other. I need women, women need me. We both offer gifts. And so we cannot underestimate there is a systematic attack to get the father out the home, and then there's a spiritual attack to get the father out the home. And we have to be conscious of that, because if we're not, then we're going to destroy our own families. And families are the bedrock to building healthier and more productive communities as a home. With that said, the Black community is the least married community of all ethnicities currently in this country. I think it was 17% of Black women are married versus like, well, no, 32% of Black women are married versus 55% of white women are married. That's a huge disparity, right? So that prevents wealth income, wealth development, passing down to generations. And so there is a lot of adversity against keeping the man at home, and we have to be intentional about saving his presence.
Yeah, as I listened to you talk about that, I kind of honed in on the Section 8 housing. And it's one of those double-edged swords, right? When you get in a community where, where people are in poverty, literally, with the wages, and the inflation and the cost of living and all that, right? And so what do she's offered, it's usually the woman there, to your point earlier, or men too. But if that parent is offered housing assistance, then the other parent can't cohabitate. You can't live there. Then you leave. Right. So if you're lacking on jobs availability there, or they may not have the skill sets necessarily for the specific job, so you get in this whirlwind and just hamster wheel of just dysfunction that just you normalize, and then you do the best you can with what you got. But how do you tell someone don't take that housing assistance? Now, we talked about there are other things, you're talking about financial savviness, living a more of a simple life, being more creative with your finances, and getting with, learning to have healthy relationships. So it can be two incomes, right? So you can get out there and do it, but there's so much to it. But to your point, you're right. These systems can work against at the same time when they're helping the a single parent. They can also work against family. So that's
yeah. And then, probably there's a few dads out there that say, well, listen, if my child's mother can get a home and my kids can have a roof over their head, I'll just go sleep on Gerard's couch, and and then let them have the house, and I'll figure it out. I'll find a way. And that just creates separation from his woman and his children, and that just the family structure is just crumbling because you have to make these concessions.
Yeah, hey man, I like how you make that sound like a noble decision. I'm gonna go sleep on this couch over here and let my kids sit in the Section 8 houses. Man, he's a noble guy, man. So, but hey, I get your point though. You're right.
Right.
If push come to shove and I can't provide, I would, especially you got some people who are in prison and they're having trouble, getting back in the society and getting something healthy.
Right.
So there are a number of situations that could create that scenario. You're right. And I don't want to make light of it, but it just sounded funny. Like how you made that a noble decision. Let me get on Gerard's couch. But you're right, man. It is. It could be a double-edged sword, and man, there's no easy answer. You're talking about these decisions aren't made overnight, right? And these situations don't happen just from a blink of an eye. This is generations of, poverty, lack of education, lack of generational wealth that creates these situations, right? If there is no jobs that are paying $100,000, you're not going to get $100,000 job in that city, right? It's just as simple as that. But the cost of living is what it is. So it's a lot to it, but it's easy to say, hey, get you a mate and tackle that thing together. But then there are other issues like how to build healthy relationships right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of times we haven't had healthy examples to show us how it's done either. So we're like doing with no point of reference, which makes it hard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
Man, we got about 6 minutes, man. And what I want you to do is we're going to go to some of these comments. And then after the comments, we're going to let you wrap the discussion up. But there's quite a few of them, but we're going to get through them. We got my homeboy Kiki, Brian Jackson. He said, some mamas ain't there even though they live in the same house. Two-parent participation is the best suggestion. You're right. You could be in the same house and still not present.
That's good. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I'll let you take this one from Mia.
Some people are okay with the other parent not being present, especially if it's a toxic or damaging to the kid and to the other parent. It can be detrimental to the child if one of the parents is unstable. Yeah, definitely. You want to try to create the most healthiest environment for your kid because that is really at the end of the day what's most important, the
Yeah.
kid's well-being. Whether or not mom and dad like each other or get along, they have to figure that out. Those are the adults. The adults should be able to figure that out for the betterment of the child. And if a parent is really unstable, then you may need to create some boundaries so that the child isn't affected by that dysfunctional behavior.
Yeah. You know, and unfortunately, in these types of situations, even when you get into the courts and try to get some enforcement, right? The
Yeah.
courts and health don't necessarily pair well together. So you can have a, a therapist or a mental health specialist understanding and knowing that there's something wrong with one parent, right? But
Hmm.
proving that and getting a judge who has no not just understanding, but no legal authority other than extreme situations to intervene, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that parent might be technically unstable, but if that child is in no immediate danger, he's still going to be under the law obligated to grant that child rights. I mean, that
Mhm.
parent rights to the child as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Things like narcissism and egotism is not a substantial cause to prevent access to a child, but it's very detrimental to a child
Yeah,
to grow up with a narcissistic, egomaniac parent. But you just got to do your best in those situations. It's really, really hard, but
yeah,
there are things out there that can support that.
yeah. And one thing, and it's easier said than done. We got to work on our picker.
Yeah,
And then you
we
got to
do.
identify these things in the beginning because hey, they're man, they're savvy and being able to cover up, what they need to until they get what they want, and that's the hard part about it. Yeah. She also said balance is truly key. It takes maturity, absolutely. Um, Coley Brown, Nicole said that's why it's imperative for people to choose people who speak life into them and bring out the king in them. You was talking earlier about men surrounding themselves with like-minded people, and I think
Yeah.
what you're saying is absolutely important. You want to comment on that?
I think when you're choosing a man and you see his habits and his routines, if he doesn't represent the type of man you would want your son to become, then don't date him.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I get it because really listen and not just listen, but watch people in desperate situations or in desperation for relationships accept things that they know they shouldn't.
Hmm.
Thinking that they can love a person or shield. I heard this thing right here. I'm with you. My child don't need a father. You here for me. And I always cringe at that. I'm like, if y'all in the same space under the same roof, he's going to interact with
Uh,
his child. So
oh
to
yeah,
play to act like he's not going to have any interaction with that child, I don't think you're being truthful with
this
this.
yeah, dysfunction is contagious. It's
Yeah,
just like having the flu. Yeah.
for sure, for sure. Um, Coley was talking about the Life I Want event. Hey, please get your ticket. Bring your kids out. We're going to have some stuff for the kids as well, too. So bring your children out and let them be a part of something great. LifeIWantEvent.com.
And you get to take a picture with Gerard while you're there, so that's gonna be
Man, who
nice.
don't want to take a picture with me?
That's right.
Don't answer
That's
that.
nonsense.
People might start saying me. Dr. Jenna said, yeah, it is going to be a great event. Hey, come on out. It's a nice drive from Killeen, Harker Heights, but if you want to come out and be a part of that, we'd love to see you.
Dr. J, we would love to have you back on the show again. I would love
Oh,
to
yeah.
talk to you
Yeah,
again
man,
about a variety of things.
oh, man, she's awesome. Awesome. So appreciate everything
Yeah.
about it. Misha, when we told her she's supposed to be here, she said she got her feet kicked up.
Come on, sis.
Don't do that. Here's another one from Mia. She was talking about Father's Day. I'll let you read that.
Definitely agree that cards or handwritten notes go a long way too on Father's Day. Learning them and what they like is also key. Yeah, you live with this man or you see him often. Hopefully, you do get to grow up with your dad. But get to know your dad also. If he likes fishing, if he likes cards, if he likes sports. We tend to do that more so with our mothers than we do our dads. But dads have hobbies. Dads have interests. They are more than just a father. And so get to find out who the man is, and then you'll be able to love on him better and really honor him.
Yeah.
Look beyond just his role as a father. Say, who is the man?
Yeah, we actually had a discussion. I don't know if it was with you or somebody else, but the discussion was how to love a purposed man and how to show reciprocity to a man who's showing up and present and leading, right? It's something you have to really pay attention to, because that man usually not looking for watches and cologne and just necessarily gifts, but you talked about respect and honor. I told my daughter once, she was like, "Dad, you seem like you got everything. Like, I don't know what to give you." And I told her, one thing that does my heart well is when I see her, that she's listening and learning for some of the lessons that I've tried to teach her. Like that right there is showing discipline and honor, how she treat people and how she manages her own behavior. Like that does me well. Yeah. So
that's the greatest reward right there. Yeah.
No question. No question. Hey, Dame said he always gets the big piece of chicken.
Come on now. As you should, King. As you should.
Ivory said edible arrangements. Yeah, I've gotten edible arrangement gifts, and fruits. And it was very nice. That too. Yeah. You want to take this one right here from Dane?
Your woman can assist in elevating her man to the head of the household in different ways: time, commitment, encouragement, and insight. It's not always about money. Yeah, true. Absolutely. Just having a good support system around you in your woman really, really makes a huge difference. And all of those things that you highlighted, the commitment, the encouragement, the insight. I tell you what, the Bible says that with her hands, the woman nurtures her home. And that is so true. And with her words, I tell you, a woman can really speak life into her home by nourishing her man verbally and reaffirming him. It just really does something to us when we have a woman who is by our side, rooting us on, believes in us to do our best. Even if we want to be a 50-year-old rapper, we got a woman beside us. We just may make it.
At least get you a more mature name, though. Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna leave that one alone. Yeah. Hey, I like this one right here. Mario said words of affirmation. You want to speak on that?
Yeah. Words of affirmation go far because words have power, of course, and we can use our words to either destroy or to build. And so we want to be careful with our words, because you can build your man literally by the words that you say, or you can destroy your man literally by the words that you say. And if you are destroying your man, then you are destroying your household. So yeah, definitely 100% words of affirmation.
That Bible verse that says it's better to live on the roof, right? The corner roof and under the roof with a contentious
quarrelsome wife, right?
Yeah, and there's some wisdom in that right there. Dr. Jennings says, we say we need one another with words, but our actions for majority singles don't show that. How do we start to fix or bridge that gap? Man, I love that. Now, it ain't just pointing out the problem. What's the answer, right? How do we start to fix or bridge that gap right there? Because you're dealing with a lot of hurt. It might be not just from the past. Let's be honest. We talk about real time dysfunction in the moment. But still, the need to expression to honor and respect each other is still there, right?
Yeah, it is. I think it's really unfortunate that in 2025 and at our young tender ages, we still don't understand each other well. There's still this big gap between how women understand men and how men understand women. There's so much more that we have to learn. The first thing we have to do is sit down and have honest discussions and accept the other side's truth. That when women tell you, I don't feel heard, I don't feel seen, I don't feel appreciated, don't throw in your feedback. Well, don't I take you out? Don't I pay the bills? No. Listen and accept it as true. Yeah. She doesn't feel heard or seen. That is her perception is her reality.
So let's dissect that before you move on, Gregory. Because if she's saying something that he feels that it's not true. So now emotions are there, giving some pointers on how to slow down, right? Because if you're saying accept her truth, but he's saying his truth is like, what are you talking about? Like, I do these things.
Yeah. Tell me how I can do better. That is a question that a lot of men feel uncomfortable asking, but it is a very poignant question, because if you ask a woman what you can do better, she is going to tell you what you can do better. And so, and then also when she tells you, accept it as true. This is how I interpret love. This is what feels like love to me. Love to me feels like words of affirmation, or love to me feels like foot massages, or love to me remembering my favorite song, remember my favorite uh, color, knowing my favorite flower. That feels like love to me. Anybody can pay the bills, but do you know me as well as you know how much the light bill
Man,
was
that's
this
tough
month?
when you're talking about to accept something that you don't think is true and that you think is a bunch of baloney. But in 1 Corinthians 13, it said love suffers long, right? And when you try to,
Mhm.
if I know for me in my past relationship, I remember I had to scale or weigh my behaviors against what scripture says love was, and I was not suffering. And,
Yeah.
and the thought of even an idea of suffering seems crazy. Like, who in the heck wants to suffer? I like other versions that say love is patient, right? So I usually try to
Patient. Yeah. Patient. Yeah.
bring sense out of that. It is sacrifice, right? And it is putting the needs of others, and even if it's for that moment, with the idea that we're going to get through this. But right now, we just need to slow walk this thing and give to her. In the Christian marriage,
Yeah.
it starts with us. When it says like Christ loved the church, that old song that we used to sing, how I love Jesus because he first loved me, and not to get too churchy in this, but somebody got to take the lead. And in the Christian marriage, it is the man's experience. That doesn't alleviate responsibility from one, but while we were sinners, he died for us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I think a man should take more bullets than the
I
woman
don't like
should.
the way you put that
Yeah.
one, bro,
I'm
but
front
yeah,
and
you're right.
center. I I take the
Yeah.
brunt of the forces that are coming against us, right? And she's got my back, so she handles the leftovers, right? But I'm
But that
taking the
ain't
brunt
fair,
of it. You know, it it
right?
ain't about being fair. It's about
Yeah,
doing your job,
yeah,
doing your role. And as a father, as a husband, your job is to carry the heavier load. We were designed in the natural and the supernatural to carry more weight. And that is our responsibility to carry more weight at home and in our relationships,
yeah.
not the wife.
Hey, you signed up for it. Hey, do your job, right? Yeah. Take this one from
Mhm.
Dame, and then we're gonna let you wrap up the discussion.
Being heard goes both ways. Sometimes we both have to look in the mirror and break ourselves down. That, in my opinion, is the first step to make positive change for yourself. And then, and only then, can you bring the positive change to yourself. Yeah, Damon, speaking your language, Gerard, you say this pretty much every episode.
Yeah, man.
Accountability, right? Right. Taking ownership of your own actions. And when you fumble, admit it. I fumbled.
Yeah,
I made a mistake. Ain't no shame in that. Ain't no embarrassment in that. That's maturity to say, I made a mistake. I'm
yeah,
gonna
that's
do better
good.
next time. Yeah, accountability, looking yourself in the mirror and say, how can
Yeah,
I show up better? How can I do this thing better? And not just for my marriage, but if I have a great marriage, then I'm gonna have great children. Because if the mom and dad are the foundation of the home, then guess what? The children have a solid
yeah,
foundation to live on and to walk on, which is the purpose of having a good marriage, so the
yeah.
children
I
can
heard
thrive.
this thing that said that accountability is one of the worst tasting medicine. But it does the greatest
That's
amount
true.
of healing in self and in relationships. So, yeah, accountability. You say, well, here's the
Oh
issue
yeah.
with accountability, and I said this before. You can't have true accountability if there's no sense of responsibility for the health of that relationship. You could try to hold people accountable all day
Uh-huh.
long, but if they don't have a sense of responsibility for the health of that relationship, there is no true accountability.
Hmm.
You can try to have justice or some sense
Right.
of, forcing some stuff, but it's short lived at best, right? So yeah, accountability is important, but
Hmm.
start with responsibility first. Yeah, man, this
Right.
was good. I enjoyed the discussion. I enjoyed all the input. Man, the comments were long and many, and I appreciate everybody's input. But this is where we look to. I'm gonna go ahead and speak this, Dr. Gregory. You know, your doctor, the wisdom is already
Thank
there,
you.
but we're gonna look to
Thank
you
you.
to give us some
I
parting
appreciate
words or
it.
some inspiration, things to go back to our relationships, our kids, our community with to make us better.
Yeah, yeah. The role of the father is generational warfare. And the role of the father is to move the needle forward. As a man, when you are in the position of father, whether natural or surrogate, your responsibility is to make sure that those that come after you are doing better than you did. And so our goal, our exude, our walk, and our talk should be in such that those people that are looking up to us and those people that are following us can go further and can go faster and can do better. We move our ego. We remove our ego. We remove our pride and say, it's not about me. It's about those that are coming after me. This is a generational job. The job that we have today will echo long after we're gone. So we have to make sure that we are doing the right thing. The best place to start is accountability. The best place to start is to fix your own wounds, because the best gift you can give your children is a healthy you. So you, sir, as a man, look in the mirror, go get the therapy that you need. Go get the healing that you need. Cry the cry that you need. Whatever it is, don't stay in your dysfunction, because dysfunction is contagious. Once you sneeze that dysfunction on your children, they're going to catch that cold. So the best thing for you to do is go fix yourself first, and so that you can be the father that your children deserve. This is generational. It's not about you. It's about those that come after you.
Wow. Man, only thing I missed is if I wish I was an organist, man, I'd have been,
doors of the church.
Yeah, I get it, man. That was good,
Listen,
man.
Come as
That was
are.
good. And I'm sure the audience got just as much out of that as I did. Man, this was a great discussion, man. What do you think? Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. You know what? I love being a dad too. Being a father is just the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And I'm not saying that with no exaggeration. It is really the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. I love being a dad.
So you do a lot of work out there for men in the space of emotional wellness, emotional maturity. So how can people reach out to you and get some of the content that you got to help in that space?
Yeah. So if you're looking to get a deeper understanding of emotional intelligence, visit my website, www.gregorymckinney.net. And there you can schedule a free consultation. It won't cost you anything, just to talk for 20, maybe sometimes even 30 minutes. We'll just chat. We'll get an understanding of where you're at, what your needs are, and see if it's a good fit. See if I can help and see if we can move forward. At the very least, you want to just contact me and get that free consultation so that you can get an assessment of exactly what it is that is bothering you, and identify those hurdles and roadblocks that you have, and so that we can get to work on removing those hurdles so that you can really be the leader, the husband, and the person in your community that you're desiring to be. Because so many times we remain stagnant by the issues that are in our minds, not by the issues that are in front of us. So reach me at www.gregorymckinney.net. You can also buy my book on Amazon. You type in Gregory McKinney book or Gregory McKinney book. It's called Emotional Intelligence for Men. It's a quick read, but it's a powerful read. It's going to give you some tools, some techniques on how to just balance those emotions. So reach out to me. I'm here to serve, and I look forward to talking with anyone who's interested.
That's good, man. So since you're on the road, man, go ahead and close us out if you don't mind.
Yeah, man. Listen, I love this. I look forward to this every single Thursday, to chopping it up with you, and to read those comments, man. And I get a kick out of it every time. And so, to all of you that are watching us today, thank you so much for showing up. We love you. We wouldn't do this. We couldn't do this without you. We're here to serve you. The Floor is Yours podcast is exactly that. This is your podcast. So if there's anything that you want to talk about, let us know, and we'll talk about it. We'll invite people on that know more than me and Gerard put together, and we'll bring on some experts, and we'll get you the information that you need, because this is just our desire to bring you substantial, meaningful information week after week after week. We love you so much. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, love, peace, and hair grease. We out.
Won't need another, this one here really do it for you.
Baby, look at yeah, baby, I'm in love. Baby, come down to the let me show you how pro
Now it's my turn to tell y'all about my big bro Gerard.